Okay, everybody, welcome back. I wanted to start off with just a couple of cleanup from last time, but we're going to be doing some pretty big things today, at least getting started. I'm really excited for this project because I really wanted this to be something I could be proud of, first of all, but also I wanted to really put everything together that we've been learning together with deconstructing Bootstrap and design systems and all that good stuff. So this is our current state of our little website that we've been making, and there were a couple of things I wanted to clean up from last time. So I was struggling getting these three cards to line up in thirds, and then like keeping them in thirds. So anyway, the trick there I found was with our display, with our grid, with our template columns, you can actually do this really cool thing called auto fit and then use a min max. And I've got the source here where I finally found this this trick. I finally got this figured out. But basically I'm saying I want it to be 300 is like, that's our minimum, right? And I want it to be 300 always. Like that's the lowest or the smallest I want it to be. So if I go back here, these are all going to be 300 pixels at least wide. And then they'll grow to a third of, like, the max that they can go at the top end is a third of the allotted space, because it's a 0.33 frame. So I wanted it to be in thirds, so that's the max. Like, I don't want it to stretch any longer than 300 pixels, and I also don't want to have more than 3 on a row, basically. So that's kind of how I finally figured out how to solve for that one. So there's that. And then I was let me double check here. Oh yeah, I did add a little bit more of just some styles to the code, so you can see there's a little bit more breathing room, I think, than last time around the edges here. But that's probably going to change because I've been looking through everything, and I think this site is fine for like having a reset, like a super basic style that we can just kind of have, and it's just super bare bones, right? So this is it's fine, whatever. But I absolutely hate this page that we've got, right? The resources page, hate it. I don't know what to do with the empty space either. So I have redesigned this site so that we can take our design and create our own design system starting from scratch. We can use, of course, we're going to use the same code that we've written here. Some of the layout stuff is going to change, but I really want to take a component first approach for this, I think. And then we'll figure out the layout a little bit later. So today we're just going to be focused on kind of getting the structure of our system in place, meaning colors, maybe some of the buttons or like components if we have time. But I'm just going to kind of show you what I go through when I'm thinking through, design systems and templates. And yeah, so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you our little design here. So if I pop over, apologize for the flashing. It's a lot of processing apparently. Okay, so as you can see, we've got I've got a design here for kind of the layout. Since this is an email development and design resource website, I really wanted to lean into the idea of the inbox, right? Because that's where we're programming, that's what we're designing for, is the inbox. And so that's why I decided, let's lean into that. We're gonna have this, we're gonna have a little panel on the side here for our main navigation instead of across the top. And then on this second nav here is going to be our like individual pages with the tips or tricks or whatever it is, the tutorial. And then of course your content on the right, as if you were clicking through your inbox and getting maybe your categories and then individual emails opening up. So that's kind of the idea, and I'm pretty excited about it. I also have a little bit of a mobile experience. Is a little bit different just because it didn't need to be so complex, especially when we have zero, horizontal space to work with, as far as like trying to keep with something like this. Something like this. So it's going to be a lot more cleaned up and a lot more simplified. And I still think it'll be valuable, even if you're on mobile, but I do think that the showpiece is going to be on desktop. So, like I said, we want to focus on some of the important like building blocks for our design system first. And so that always includes stuff like colors. We've got it up here. I apologize for that flashing still. So we're going to do the colors. We're going to start to maybe build out some of these little pieces. Like maybe we'll do the SVG icons. That could be something interesting. And maybe some of these other little tiny elements for like the page elements. So like if there's a downloadable a piece to my tutorial or whatever, then they can click on this little component to download the PDF or the assets, whatever it is. There's still a couple of things that haven't worked out, but I really would like to have some kind of like action bar as well. So that will also be in my mind for components and actions that we need to think about. But for the most part, I think we can just dive in right now and get these colors figured out. So I'm going to switch back to coding and let's get this started. So I still really like having this structure of like our abstracts, atoms, components, that kind of a thing. So what I'm going to do here is I actually want to start with some variables because I think it's really important to have like a single source of truth, especially with colors. I hate seeing stuff like black or blue. All of these things need to be variables so that it can just hold the right color, so we don't have messed up hex codes even, or random colors that are slightly off, and just that's one of my pet peeves, I guess. That's what I'm saying. So let's start with abstracts. I'm going to create a brand new file. We're going to go with just variables.scss. And we got to add this to our index here. So I'm going to put this, I'm pretty sure we'll want it at the top. I'm actually, I'll have to think about, I'm not sure if it probably does matter the order here just because it's CSS essentially down the road once it's compiled. So I'll put it at the top just so that we can always use these variables throughout the base or mix-ins or whatever. I think that's the right way to go. So let's start off with a little bit of a colors section. I like to label mine just because it helps me to group those variables. So anyway, going back to our if we go to our our mock-up here, we've got our colors, and I'll go ahead and I'll start putting these in. So what I want to do is I can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blues. So I think we can do kind of that like descending color scale kind of a thing. I want the darks to be like 100 and then the lighter ones to be on the lower the number, the lighter it is, basically. I like that. So I'm gonna head back here and I'll just be stealing the hex codes from that mock-up so what I'm doing there. But this is one way that I really like to do it is we'll do a blue, so we know it's a blue, and I'm gonna do -100 for the darkest, and we're gonna set this to whatever the hex code is for for the darkest. And I'll actually switch back. This is Illustrator, so just in case you don't know how to get these, let's see, can I move it? There we go. Just in case you ever need to know how to get the hex codes from Illustrator, I'm just clicking on this element and I'm going down to the square on the very left panel. At least it's left for me. This is kind of the default setup, so you're going to look for a little symbol like this, double click on it, and then this little color picker will come up and we can just copy straight from there. Because it's already highlighted. So we've got our hex code right there. So I'm not going to show you that every single time, but I just want to make sure you knew how to do that. So there is our first hex code. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this down. Let's see. Let me launch my keyboard shortcuts just so that you can see this, hopefully. All right, there we go. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna copy all these down. I know we had, what was it, 7? So one more, and then I'm going to highlight the 100. Use Control or Command D. That's one of my favorites. And then I'm gonna change them all to 90. And I actually am not sure. I believe I have an extension on Visual Studio Code. So what I'm doing is I have this multi-cursor. I'm going to select all of the 9s. I'm going to Control Shift P, and then I'm going to decrement the selection. So I believe that is an extension from Visual Studio Code. I can actually double check here. Yeah, it's called increment selection. I don't usually have extensions, but that is one that I really use all the time. So it was really nice because it just formatted all of these for me. So now all I have to do is drop in all of the hex codes. So I'm going to do that really fast. Grab that. Grab this one. That one. This one. And this one. Whoops. And one more. Let's get our lightest one right here. Okay. So super cool. We already can see kind of our gradient. And honestly, the hard part is this scale is pretty weighted. Like there's a lot more dark colors. And then all of a sudden it goes light at the very end. So technically, I mean, we could get away with maybe calling this blue 10 instead. But since, yeah, I don't know. That one's a hard one. It's a lot easier when your designers have like a really strong color palette. It honestly depends on the project. So I'm fine having it be like this and just end at 40. I'm just gonna have to remember that that's 40. But honestly, I'm also gonna make a helper function or a helper variable to tell me what these colors are for, because it's one thing to have a bunch of colors available to you, but I've actually seen a lot more help with the design system in defining like specific uses of those colors. So let's just do that right now. So if we pop back over to our mockup, we know I am actually going to make this color the background color for the entire site. So even though white is your default background color for the web, and this is going to be our white for this content section, I actually want to use this really, really dark blue because on mobile, it's going to be so much easier to just have this, especially when I've got this little curve here. I don't want to have to mess around with negative top margins to like pull this section up over top of a dark section. So I'm actually just going to make it dark so that when I have these curved elements, it's just going to be the right way it's supposed to be. So that is actually my framework there. So let me double check. I want to make sure I get the correct one here. So so it is 100. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to set up the background color, and I'm going to set it to the blue 100. And that way, if I ever need to change the background, I can just change which color I'm pulling from. So maybe it's time to pull in the blue 60. I just change it here instead of having to change up here. Like, it's a lot harder to change the color itself inside of a scale than it is to change what part of the scale goes into the component or like the background, if that makes sense. So that's something I've learned fairly recently, just with having to switch massive style changes kind of after having a large color scale. We changed directions at another project I'm working on, and it was a lot easier to change these types of variables rather than these type of variables. So anyway, of course you can always change these anytime, but these are the flexible ones, right? These are the ones where you can stuff in our CSS throughout the site, and then Bootstrap actually does this quite well. They do this with primary colors, the primary, secondary, tertiary, or I don't remember if they actually go down to tertiary, but they definitely do with primary and secondary. They have like warning colors, and they define all of these up front after they have a color gradient as well, I believe. So interesting, just I guess look into design systems. So we've got that. We've got our scale. I know that our background color is set. And then I want to do, let's just go ahead and set up our, we can call it our subnav. Oops, not at. $, subnav color is going to be which one is this one? Blue 70. Cool. Blue 70. And then our content. I should probably call these BG colors just so that it doesn't get confusing. So that's actually going to be white. So I'm going to use the hex code for that, just because I just always feel like it's safer. It technically isn't. It's totally fine to use the word white or black or whatever, Alice blue, Rebecca purple. It's totally fine to do that. I always feel more secure with with the full six whatever valued hex code, instead of just doing 3. The part of this is actually my email development coming through is, if you, this is totally valid in HTML on the web, but it can be a little bit risky on emails. So I just like to see the full hex code written out. That's why I'm doing that. So, and then this one, I also wanted this to be a BG color. So I might actually change this to BG just to be a little bit consistent. Maybe it's our body. There we go. That feels a little bit easier for me to read. Yeah. And the only thing I'm pausing on is I do like to see really large concepts at the very front of your naming convention. So BG color, I'm a little bit tempted to put that at the front because then it would all be consistent. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to do that because even though to me, I'm like, it's the body that I'm working on and it's the background color. But this is even more generic, this BG color. So I'm actually going to grab all of these and put them at the front, because now it's always a background color and then I choose what it's for. So I'm getting more specific as I get closer to the end of the name. It's a background, it's the color of the background, and it's for the body. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about as far as my naming conventions. And the last thing we can do is with our colors is we need to do we have some action colors. So if I pop back over here, we've got a couple of action colors, I would call them. So we've got a little indicator for what I was thinking was kind of like on links, when you click on a link, just a plain text link that, you know, right out of HTML, no styles really, it can turn purple once you've visited it. So I was thinking it would be kind of cool to have like a little indicator here that's for a link when you have not visited that link, and then once you have visited that link, like this responsive URLs or the resources, then it goes this little blue color, so that it could almost be like an unread email or the read email. So it's like, I don't know, something kind of fun. So I'm gonna call these action colors, just because there's a little bit of action going on. I can click on that. I have one button is in this yellow because it's a really great contrast, and then we've got these other two just in case. I'm not totally sure if we'll actually use them, but I feel like it's always good to have a red for any kind of warning type of thing, and then a green for like a go or an okay or something like that. And then this, of course, is our main call to action, if you will. So I'm gonna go back here. I'm gonna grab that yellow because this one is probably our most important. So I'm gonna do yellow. Now the question here becomes, you know, do I need a number, because there's zero zero other types of yellow, and I don't think any other type of yellow would work very well. It would be too clashy. So I might just keep it as yellow. I think that's okay to do, especially with such a simple color palette that we're working with. I'm going to grab our red as well, and I'm going to do the same thing here. Red is this color, and finally our green is this color. So now we've got all of our colors plugged in, which is super great, but I do want to make one last thing. Since yellow is our primary CTA kind of color, I'm actually going to call it primary. I don't know, should I call it primary color? I think Bootstrap goes with primary. I'm going to go with that too, and I'm going to set it equal to that yellow. And again, the reason why is so that like our main action is whatever this yellow is, it should be what we want the users to take action on. So that'll be good. And maybe I'll set up the visited thing as well right now while I'm at it. So let me grab that color. Alrighty. And that is blue 60. Cool. So I'm going to put visited as blue 60. Do I want to call it visited? I feel like that's simple enough. It kind of matches with, you know, the style anyway. So I think we're good with that. And then the primary will just be that visited. Is there anything else we needed to go with the? don't think so. I guess we could do a footer color. So that was, I believe, the blue 90. Yep. So I'll probably do a BG color dash footer, and we'll set this to blue 90. Cool. So this is really cool. I really like this, having these ready for us to just plug and play when we're actually doing our CSS. And yeah, let's just go for it. Yeah, let's try. So I want to try this linking thing, because I think that's kind of a cool concept. I've never tried this before, where we've done this little, indicator that's not the text color. So I'm not actually sure if that's gonna work. I hope so. I think it should. So let's go into our base. I think, yeah, so okay, I'm gonna give this a shot, so bear with me. Of course, this is live coding, you know this, but I think we do a before pseudo class or pseudo element. And I think we can just make that little circle next to it. So I'm gonna do no content, but we are gonna have, I'm just gonna start off, I'll just do some random stuff here. Let's do like width of 10 pixels and a height of 10 pixels. And then our background color for this background color will be our primary. And this will be a good test to make sure this is actually working with our variables here. And then, yeah, let's just double check that actually works. So I'm going to restart my server and go over to Chrome. Oh, we broke it. So, okay, so it's not happy with the primary variable. Okay, so we need to be able to use, oh, that's right, because we are in the same, so since we're, our variables, I did add it to our index, but that's packaging it up for the rest of these style sheets. But we are right up here in the base, so we have to use the use statement. Use, and then what's the use? I think we can just do variables in quotes here. Was it .css? I think. Let me double check. Should be like this. Okay, I don't think we need the .css then. Let's try that out and see if it helps at all. So give that a refresh, and it still is broken. Hold on. Oh, what did I do? Why are you not working? Variables, it has an S, variables, use. So maybe I need to, do I have to do it here? Doesn't seem like that did it. Come on. Come on. Base, variables. Forward. That doesn't make sense. I'm just double checking. No reason to have you switching back and forth here. Okay, well, there you go. Now we got our first little puzzle with Sass, trying to be compliant with the, not using the. Oh, you know what? Maybe I need to do. Can I do import? Oh wait, you're not supposed to use. See, that's the thing. I don't know how to do this. So import variables. Does that help at all? I might have to cheat and then come back and fix it. This is saying forward it. So maybe I'm gonna comment this out, because I'm getting this new error here. So let me try. I commented out. Now I can restart. Oops. There we go. Okay, so that's working now. I think. Let's double check to make sure that it's taking. Okay, so there is a before. Okay, so we have some of this. We have some of this figured out. Let's go back here. So yeah, I will have to figure out what is wrong here, because we are going to want to be able to forward the variables around to the rest of the project. So I need to double check on the syntax for that. I'm still a little rusty on figuring out the new way of doing things, the right way of doing things, since they've deprecated the import thing. Yeah, in favor of being a little bit more modular and namespaced. So anyway, back to our link here. So yeah, for some reason I'm not seeing this. This is not taking. So, oh, you know what? I'm looking at. Let me show you this. So I'm looking at. I inspected the link there, and I'm looking at in the Chrome. It's giving me a hint. Display inline property prevents width from having an effect. So we could try. Let's try changing the display here to display inline block. And then we can go back here and refresh. Does that change anything? Oh, yes. Okay, so cool. Yeah, no, well, this is a little bit backfiring on us, but we can fix this later. We won't put this on the general anchor tag. That's the main problem with this, because you can see it's up here in the top where the logo is. You can see those squares now. But let's just try and work out how this little indicator is going to work. So I'm going to go back to our code, and when we have visited that link, so and visited. And actually, I think we want this after the hover. We are also going to grab and before, so it's both. We want to change the color of our before element when it's visited. So I'm going to change this to our, what do we call it, secondary? Visited. There you go. Visited, save. Let's try this out. Oh, hey, look, that's kind of cool. So I have not gone to online communities in this session. So let's try this out. I'm going to click on online communities, and then I'm going to go back to our resources, and it's now like red. So that's cool, actually. I was a little skeptical. I wasn't totally sure if that was going to work. So that makes me really pleased that that's possible. So I think that's kind of cool. So let's clean this up and make this a border radius. I want this to be a circle, right? So I'm just gonna do 20 pixels. I like to just overshoot by like a crazy amount, just because then for sure we get a circle. I don't have to worry about, you know, other things. So if I restart here and refresh, come on, there we go. Now we've got our circles, and we can even, let me just double check, I can't remember, pretty sure we can just add in a little bit of a margin there. So like margin right, like, I don't know, 10 pixels. Cool. So that'll work. So let's go back and make that for real. We're going to do margin right. I'm going to do 10 pixels again. And that's awesome. That's actually really cool. But again, we do need to make sure that this is not on our default like a tag. Like that's a little bit scary, obviously, because we've already seen that breaking stuff. So I'm gonna actually add a little. Let's see. It's going to be, if we look back at our mockup, it's going to be here in our subnav. It's not really going to be anywhere else other than the subnav. So I'm thinking we could just do a subnav with a nav item with an anchor tag. So I'm going to go back here. Let's create a brand new, ooh, that makes me wonder if I should put it, I might want to put this elsewhere then. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that, which actually already makes things complicated with our variables. So I'm going to create a new folder, or a new component in our components folder, and I'm going to call this navs.scss, and we're going to have our main nav. I'm just going to stub this in, and then we're also going to have our sub nav. And I don't think we're going to have any other navs that I know of, but for sure we can assign these to our variables here. So we've got sub nav, at least. Background color is going to be the BG sub nav. And we're going to have to figure out how to move these guys into our be able to reference these variables. So let's first start off by grabbing all of this for the visited. I'm going to grab that and just cut it. I'm going to put it back in our nav right here. So I'm going to say when there's a nav item, oops, that also has an anchor tag, then we're going to put in this. So what I'm doing is, if it's the subnav and it's a nav item that's surrounding, ooh, do I want, I don't think I need, well, I might actually make, maybe nav item needs to be the class on the anchor tag. So I'll get rid of that extra styling. So basically we're going to have an anchor tag with the class of nav item, and that should be the, I'm debating with myself, just because I want to make sure that I can add, you know, the sufficient padding around the active area. That should be fine, because yeah, I do want, that's right, because I want the whole thing to be clickable, even this whole space, even though you can't see it right now. I want this whole space to be clickable. When you hover over it, I want that to be clearly clickable, so that basically anywhere this box here is you're going to see the cursor, even if it's not, you don't see the box, if that makes sense. If it's going to be hidden a little bit down here, we're going to have a hover effect, probably like this one. Actually, I haven't checked on that. So yeah, we'll probably have a hover effect. And we want all of that to be, there we go. designing on the fly. Okay. We want all of that, all of this darker space to be clickable, right? So I do think we want to have the anchor tag just have the class on there. That makes sense to me. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Yeah. So we've got our subnav stuff. Oh, and we got one more thing that we had to pull out. We want this before. We don't want that on all of our links. So we're actually kind of basically just resetting our anchor tags here. And then I need to put this here. Put that above. Hit save. And then the last thing we need to do is, well, first of all, I need to add this to our index to make sure that that gets picked up. And then we also need, maybe this is, I mean, this was already kind of bad practice, so I'm just going to get rid of that because we don't have any variables in our base anymore. And then I'm going to uncomment this, and hopefully that means that we can maybe use them. Okay, so I broke it again, but that's okay. Forward use. Okay, so I think what that means now is that in order for us to use them here, now we're going to use the @use variables. And if that doesn't work, I can, yeah, that didn't work. So let me just look up my notes really fast and see if I can see yeah, I want to do this the right way the first time. So I just need to look up because I don't remember the syntax off the top of my head. Come on. Where'd it go? I thought I had it just in a like really nice place, but apparently not. Extends, that's not what we want. Importing, come on. There's something about it that I just always forget. Okay, so well, we might just have to go as, we'll just do the bad way. So yeah, I will have to look that up for, whoops, not imports, import variables, and let's see if that fixes everything. I'm gonna refresh, and no, it does not. Dang it. Okay. Oh wait, let's see. Do I know how to, maybe we have already looked at this. Let's take a look at @use abstracts. Okay, @use components. So there wasn't some secret thing I was missing. I just don't know how to. Come on. Dang it. It still didn't work. Okay, so I'm gonna cheat just for brevity's sake so we don't have to sit here on this live stream and debug everything. So I'm just gonna grab those variables really fast. We needed subnav, primary, and visited. So I'm gonna grab those. This is a super lame way to do it. Probably shouldn't be doing it this way, but just so that we can actually make them work. Again, just for the demonstration. Oh no. That's the other problem with chaining stuff like this. Okay. Well, all right. I'm going to, just for the sake of getting it done, I'm going to grab those one more time. Mixins, not mixins, variables. We're just going to grab our color scale and all of this, and I'm just going to copy this in the background here. And then we're going to restart so you can see. What do you mean it's not? It's right there. Oh. Helps when you put it in the right order. So it's saying there's no blue 60. Well, it's below it. So yeah, that's my bad. So yeah, this is obviously not the right way to do it. But again, we're just trying to get this so the demo kind of works. Oops. Gotta restart. And now it should be back to normal. Okay, cool. And just so that we can, again, double check to make sure we've got everything, I'm going to change the CSS here to be our sub nav, and that would be nav sidebar. So let me go take a look at nav dash sidebar. We're going to change you to our sub nav. And if we go back here, we can see it's already picking up the color. It's not doing our little... Oh, that's because we need that class. That's right. So if I go back, I'm going to go back one more time here. This subnav. Okay, so nav item is supposed to be the class. Nav item. Save. And now we can see we're back to kind of where we had started, where we've got our little indicator for our little read email, fun little thing indicator. And then none of them are yellow because I've been clicking around this session for all of these. So, oops. Cash in a little bit. Okay, so that's really cool, and it's already picked up the color, obviously. And the last thing, let's just do like one more thing. Let me grab. Let's build one component. I kind of want to build just our little downloadable thing. I think that would be kind of fun. And since we already have hacked together our our code, I'm still gonna hack with the colors a little bit, and then we'll clean them up, and I'll give you the solution next time, or we'll clean them up on the live stream once I know the solution. I'll have to double check that syntax again, but I wanted to actually maybe I'll show you. Maybe we'll just tackle the SVGs because I really like the idea of, I think that'll make more sense with this theme that we've been working on with colors. I really love the idea of having the icons change color depending on if they're the active one or if they're inactive or just like kind of your ready to go state, if you will. So like this color is the same on all of them except for this one, because that really makes it clear that, hey, this one's the selected one, right? So how do you do this? How do you do with the SVG switching the colors? Because a lot of times we just export our SVGs as images, even though they're SVGs, but we'll put them in an image tag. But I've noticed that with, especially when there's very few, like if you have an icon set that's like hundreds of icons, probably not the best way to do this. But since if we go back here, we only have as many icons as there are categories for this nav, and so this is like the perfect use case for it. So I've got these already in the right color, so this is actually the right color for the inactive state, if you will. And so I'm actually going to grab this. So this is the cool part. If you have access to Illustrator, you can actually create your own SVG code without, let's see, am I correct? Well, we'll see. I'm going to just control copy or command copy with this shape selected, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to create a brand new file and paste. And we already have all of that code posted in here, which is really, really cool. And I'll show you why in just a second. So I'm going to save this. First of all, we don't need XML on there. We just need the SVG tag. And I'm also going to get rid of the style. But I'm going to grab this color really fast. So I think we can get rid of that whole definitions piece. So then the cool part of this is now we have the code, and of course you can export an SVG, and if you have the SVG, you can drag it into Visual Studio Code and it will open up the exact same way. So you don't have to have Illustrator. You do have to have an SVG of some sort, but it makes it really easy if you have access to that raw Illustrator file. So I'm gonna hit save, and we're gonna save this in our static folder with our images, and then I'm gonna make a brand new one. I'm just gonna call this the UI, and then this one was for our quick tips, so I'm gonna call it quick tips.svg. I'm gonna force the file name here as an SVG. And now it's ready to go for us. The cool part about this, oh, actually, I shouldn't have saved this as an SVG. That's the problem. I'm gonna resave this as HTML. And the reason we're doing this is so that we can import it as an SVG and then change the color dynamically. So I don't have to sit there and mess with it. You know, because it's really hard. I don't want to have to do filters and stuff where like you have to change the color by filtering it. I don't like that. I like to be able to just change literally the actual color. So what I'm going to do is now we have this quick tips HTML in our UI folder. I'm going to go back here. I'm just going to put in... I'm just gonna like make it work, but right here, let me show you what I've done. So I actually have this set up for Google Analytics, so I've created an HTML file right here, and so I know that we can include tags like this. So I am going to try and do an include. This is with 11D, the static site generator that we've been working with. So I'm gonna use this tag and see if we can't get the icons to show up next to our nav items. So if I go back, I don't know where it was. Oh, it was resource, wasn't it? Resource. Where'd it go? Where we were just. Sorry about this. I need to find. Resources. Okay, so I'm gonna put it, I'll actually put it, that should be fine. I don't know, we'll see. Because it's not going to be in the subnav, but I do want to have this hover capability, so I'm going to try just doing an include inside of our curly braces with the percentage. And then I just need to put in the path, I believe. So static slash, what was it? Images slash UI slash quick dash tips.html. I'm going to hit save and let's see if that breaks everything. I may have broken it. Certainly not showing, so let me double check here. Inside, yeah, that did not work. So I will have to double check that. So just for the sake of getting it getting it to work so I could show you what I was so excited about. I'm going to go back to our quick tips. We're going to grab all of this. And basically what we're doing is when you put your SVG right into the HTML like this, suddenly we are able to do some pretty cool things. So I'm just gonna add it so you can see. So it's added this huge icon now because it's stretching it out. The cool thing about SVGs is it's infinitely scalable within reason, just because, you know, you could probably run into performance errors or something if you made it like 400 million pixels long, but it is infinitely scalable, so that makes it really crisp and clear. And the cool thing about this, you can see that it was black instead of the color that I had. And if we do a style, I'll just demonstrate this for you. SVG, they have a fill attribute, and if we do, whoops, I forgot. Let's see, let me grab the hex code here, and we'll change all of this next time so that it actually is dynamic and nice. When we change the fill, I can go back here, I'm gonna hit save, and you can see it changed the color. And that also means that if I hover, I can change the color as well. So let's just wrap this really fast so you can see. Let's just do like nav item, you know, I'll just pretend it's a nav item on there. I'm gonna wrap that all the way down. And then we can say nav item, oops, that has an SVG inside of it and it's hovered, and I put that above, I'm not sure why. Okay, then we can change the fill to something different, and we'll just go with white, or let's see, we probably don't want white. Let's go with just straight up yellow. Again, I realize this is not the same yellow that we were playing with, but just so that we can see it in action, when I hover over it, it automatically changes that SVG. So that is the whole point of making it an included HTML, is so that we can clean this up so we don't have to see all of this, because this does get really, you know, long and arduous to see this. But if we can include it with that tag, I'll have to double check 11D's how they do that, so I might have to pull it out of the static folder, but that's okay. That actually may be what I'm missing, but we're wrapping up. But I just wanted to show you how cool this is, that again, when we have a small icon set, we can be able to do a lot of cool things with our icons. So when it's active, when it has a certain class, we can change it. When it's hovering, we can change it without having to go crazy and you know, export 400 different variants of the same icon. So we don't need to have duplicates in our system. I just think that's so much fun to play with SVGs like that. So that's, I guess, a little sneak preview of what we're going to be doing next time. We're going to make sure that our, you know, the colors are imported correctly, those variables, and then we're going to figure out how to get these icons in our main nav and include those. And then we're just going to keep busting out this awesome new layout. I'm really excited for this. So thank you so much for tuning back in. And hopefully this is a good, hopefully this is a really good, like, culminating project that we can work on together for deconstructing our Bootstrap design system, and now we're creating our own. So happy to have you join me on this journey, and thanks so much. We'll see you on the next one.